let's say. My topic is acoustics in general, let's say. My main title is the usage of the total building performance to assess and analyze the acoustical impacts. First of all, I want to say when it comes to acoustics, or let's say sound, in other terms, it's to talk about it hand in hand with architecture. It's a bit of a not very clear or explicit topic. In recent studies, they try to discuss and overcome this, let's say, hurdle about the vague clarity. I'm going to discuss the introduction and just going to go over the content here, background and problem statement, the research methodology, literature, and then I'll conclude. And later on we could discuss and have some questions. Here I talked about the acoustic phenomenon, effects on various functions of space, indoor and outdoor, and how it could affect the user. As I mentioned earlier, the building sector has started to, let's say, discuss and go over through the elements of acoustics or the sound. Here I'm going to talk about the background, a little bit of what sound is through some intervals of time, and discuss some of these keywords. In the, let's say, articles and the journals that I've been going through, according to the one of the articles by Munzo, they discussed how the sound interval going through the reverberation time and the sound through big amounts of time. But the sound could turn into a noise and could lead to health complications, annoyance, and health complications like brain damage and heart diseases, and changes in the human behavior. Here I'm going to discuss about the problem, the definition, and as I said, the problem is the noise pollution, the noise. And recently, in the recent studies, they discussed the noise issue or the acoustic issue in the social sustainability. And they tried to tackle that and try to give it more attention in the sustainable development criteria. My aims and objectives. My main aim is to inspect the quality of sound in indoor spaces and how the acoustical performance will be and how it will affect the user overall. And by doing that, I will discuss the approach of total building performance and how it uses a subjective and an objective kind of approach methodology. Some questions here that I asked during this, let's say, coming up with a thread of thoughts. Like, what type of impacts does the noise have on humans, and what kind of health issues that could develop later on? What kind of solutions we could have to tackle this? And how could we integrate it to the design stage? Because usually it's not seen as a very important element during the design stage. Architecture is the language of visual, in a sense, but it's not the sense of, let's say, auditory sense. As I mentioned, the research methodology, here I use kind of daring, let's say, statement. But the statement is research cannot be accurate enough to acquire the resulting data without the use of both quantitative and qualitative. It is, but in the scientific, let's say, world, everything has a question mark. Everything can be discussed. Thus, the study will look at the total building performance approach as a method to subjectively use questionnaires to talk to the users on how the sound is affecting them, and objectively using instruments to calculate the decibels of sound, etc. In the literature review discussing total building performance, it's an evaluation method that predicts during the design stage period how will the acoustics or the sound will be through the design and construction until the construction time. Here I highlighted the mandates because the total building performance is a very broad, let's say, framework. And in the mandates, there's the acoustical performance of the element, which they discuss. And it's actually total building performance is a holistic approach. So if it discusses the acoustical, it should discuss also the physiological and psychological, as well as the suitability and flexibility and reliability. So, as to conclude, the total building performance approach not only assesses the issues, as I mentioned earlier, also predicts them. In the case of the acoustic mandate, and it considers all the mandates holistically. But in this research, it was evident from the literature review that the auditory sense is neglected and is not given much importance. It is possible to identify systematically the causes and the adverse effects of poor performance. So what I'm trying to say here is that the total building performance could be used. It's still it's not used a lot, but in the recent studies, there's a case in Singapore that they used it in the offices case study, let's say, and they tackled that issue, and it proved useful. It had a positive outcome. Later on in my study, I will see how it will serve as a first step to the later outcome of the entire. Here's my references. Open to discussion.